we are going to be looking at mixing new colors from scratch, doing gradient, so going from a dark to a light, our ombre, where we're going from one color into a new color, and then creating textures. Okay. So on your palette, I suggest putting just a few colors down. Think about what colors you're planning to paint your projects. Okay, if you're doing something that's very nature themed, probably green is going to be one of your go-tos. Okay? If you have stuff with bark, then trying to figure out how to make brown. If you're doing something that's more whimsical, okay, and you want really pretty pastels, okay, you can think about getting those kinds of colors. Okay? So you'll want a few of the colors, plus I would definitely have white and black. So that way you can have that to make your ombre and some of those other transitional colors. Okay. So with the paint, as I mentioned, the paint is up front. When you're putting paint in your palette, and make sure you're kind of over that table. I know it's going to get a little bit crowded in the beginning, but as you all are working, okay, there won't be 30 of you trying to get paint all at once. Do not put paint in your palette over the wedging table. Okay, if the paint gets on the fabric, I can't wash it off. Okay, that fabric is stapled into the table from underneath, and I can't just take it off, toss in the washer, and then put it back. Okay. So make sure you're just really careful over there. Also, keep the bottles of paint up front. Okay. Don't just take the bottle of blue back to your table because no one else will be able to find it. Okay, so all the paint just stays in one central location. Okay. Questions?
Actually, never mind.
Nope.
I need to give it some thought.
Okay. So I've got some paint in my palette, okay? And I'm gonna start off by making 10 new colors, okay? So for this, 10 seems like a lot. In the past, I had students do 20, okay? But I'm gonna have y'all do 10. And your colors don't have to be drastically different. So really think about what colors you're planning to paint your projects. So I'm going to kind of work with some of my warmer colors. So my reds, yellows, and oranges. Okay. So here I've got, just straight up red. Okay. I'm going to have red in a couple different of my paint wells. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of orange to one of them, okay? And that is going to change my color. So it's no longer that true red, okay? If I take that color and add a little bit of white, that's going to make it lighter, okay? So right there, I made 2 new colors. It might be a little bit harder to see with this screen, but they are definitely different. And if I add even more white, that's going to make it even lighter. Okay. To make a color darker, you'd be adding black to it. Okay. So I'm going to take my red. Okay, and I'm going to take the tiniest amount of black. Okay, black paint is really powerful. A little bit goes a long way. Okay, so just a tiny, tiny bit dramatically darkened my color. Okay. If I add even more black, okay, that's going to make it even darker. Okay. So 10 new colors. Totally up to you which colors you want to do. Make sure they're ones that you are thinking or planning on using, so that way you can have a good plan. Okay. For those of you that want to make brown, Okay. I do not have brown paint, but you can easily make brown with any of these combinations. Okay. My go-to for making brown is red, yellow, and blue. Okay, mixing those three colors together will give you a pretty nice brown. If you want more of a warmer brown, have a little bit more of that red. If you want a cooler brown, have a little bit more of the blue. Okay, so you can kind of adjust as needed. When you start mixing complementary colors, so purple and yellow, blue and orange, red and green, those three combos will also give you brown, but they're not going to be the prettiest. Okay, the purple and yellow gives you kind of like this weird greenish brown. I don't know how, but it does. Kind of all these browns look like baby poop, so that's what you're going for. Awesome. But honestly, I would just mix your primaries, red, yellow, blue, and get your brown. And then from there, you can make it lighter by adding white to get more of a tan color, add a little bit of black to make it darker, and kind of adjust as needed. Okay, so I kind of show you making that brown. Okay, so red, blue, and yellow. Mix, mix, mix. Okay. That's giving me kind of a warmer brown, so I'll add a little bit of blue, which cools it down. I can add some white to it. And right now it's looking a little purpley, so I can go back in, maybe add a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. And this is why I'm having you all do this, so you can kind of practice and see what combos work for getting the brown you like. So definitely if brown is going to be one of your prominent colors, definitely do a few swatches for brown, just so you can get a good idea of what, how much to mix from there. Okay, so questions on mixing 10 new colors. All right, so after that, you are going to be working on gradients. Okay, so our gradient is where you're going from, you're doing one color, going dark to light. So one color, dark to light, one color, dark to light. Okay, so this is a really nice way to make things look even more three-dimensional, because if you look at objects where shadows fall on, you know, your shirt, your shirt's not going from red to green. It's going from a darker red in the shadow to a brighter red where the light is hitting it. Okay, so that's where you can kind of utilize the gradient. So my suggestion for that is to kind of pre-mix a few versions of your chosen color. Okay, so here I already have my red kind of started. So I have my really dark red, I have regular red, medium red, lighter red, which is kind of pinkish. Okay, but I can take those colors and I'll kind of start from the darker end, paint a little bit, then the lighter, then my medium, then my lightest one. Okay, so if I leave this as is, it doesn't look very neat or crisp. Okay, you really want your gradients to flow and be smooth. You don't want these huge chunks where it's just like a swipe of color, okay, and then swipe of color. Okay, that's not what you want. you want everything to smooth out. So by having your colors kind of pre-mixed helps with that. Okay, this paint takes a little bit longer to dry. It's not like the underglaze that dries pretty fast. Okay, so you have some leeway with this. Okay, so you can kind of go in with one color, paint over. Okay, mix a little. Okay, and then eventually you'll get a pretty smooth gradient transition from light to dark. Okay, take your time with it. Okay, don't rush it. You should have plenty of time to work on this during class today. If you don't finish, you will have some time next class to kind of work on that. Okay, so I'm kind of going back and forth. Okay, to get that gradient from dark to light. Okay, so you're gonna do 3 different gradients. So pick 3 different colors to create your gradients of. Okay. Questions? Yes.
If you want 3 different colors, then why does it say 1 color?
Because you're doing 1 color that's going light to dark 3 different times.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this example, they did black, dark to light, orange, dark to light, green, dark to light. All right, so you're just using 1 color and changing it. Okay, any other questions? All right, so next we've got our ombre. So with ombre, you are going from 1 color into a different color. Okay, so going red to orange, okay, blue to violet, lavender to magenta. Okay, so you're going from 1 color to something different. Okay, so this one could be really nice for the monsters and the mask, for like the main surface, to kind of have that transition going from color to color. Okay, you're gonna do 3 different versions of this. Okay, so pick 3 different combos. I would stay away from our brown combos. Okay, I would not suggest doing purple to yellow, blue to orange, red to green, because right in the middle you're gonna get poop brown. Okay, so pick other colors. Okay, there's lots to choose from. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna go orange to yellow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, in my palette, got my regular orange. Okay, I have my yellow, and then I'm gonna mix up a yellow orange that's in between. Okay, to kind of help with that transition. Okay. A tip for mixing colors that I forgot to mention earlier is start with your lighter color and then add the darker. All right, so start with the lighter, then add the darker, because it's easier to go darker. It's really hard to go lighter. It just takes a lot more paint. Okay. So for my ombre, since I got my yellowish orange already, my brush, I start there.
I suggest we're all watching this, because for those of you that I've seen on your phones this whole time, myself and Ms. Patch will not help you. So pay attention.
Okay. So I kind of went from the middle, then I did my orange on one side, my yellow on the other. Okay, and then I'm going to try to get that nice, smooth transition again. Okay. If I'm feeling extra, I can, toss in another color. Maybe it starts at red and then goes into my orange. Okay, and shimmies down. Okay, but once again, you really want those nice, smooth transitions. So a nice way to blend it is to clean your brush. Okay, don't have your brush soaking wet. Okay? I've been kind of, after I rinse my brush, I've been wiping it on a towel, so you can use paper towels. Okay? And then going in to blend. Okay? So that clean brush will kind of help blend things together as well. Okay? If you're into finger painting, you can, go in and finger paint as well. Okay? So to each their own. Okay? So you'll do 3 different ombres. So going from one color into something different. Questions? Yes.
Is that it?
Nope. Got one more. All right. And last but not least, we've got textures. Okay. So you are going to create 5 different textures or patterns. Okay. So for this, it's very open-ended. There's a lot of different things you can try to do. All right. So I'll just show examples that students in the past have done. Okay. So this one up here is a different variation on our gradient. Okay. So they've got the darker purple to the lighter, but how they kind of painted, they kind of did swatches on top of each other, and it creates almost like a feather-like effect. Okay. Could be a leaf effect. Could be good for gills. Okay. Just taking different colors and doing a stippling technique. So that's where you're making little dots that go on top and next to each other. So anyone that's done any other paintings, so if you're in Art 1, you probably talked about stippling at some point, but that will give you kind of this nice textured pattern. Okay, this could be awesome for the surface of your monster or your mask if you did those. Okay. So you can kind of pick, warm colors or cool colors, and having all those different dots will help give texture without it being physically a texture. Okay. Going in with a base color, letting it dry, and then going over with another color, okay, with kind of a drier brush, can give you a nice texture. Great for fur, could be nice for grass. Okay, similar effect. Okay, so we got the dark purple and then a lighter purple on top to kind of create this effect. Got a little bit of plaid checkerboard. Let's see, what else have we got? Okay. You could do kind of a marble effect, okay, where you're taking, really thick paints and kind of globbing it together to get that marble look. Okay. So lots of options. Really think about what your project looks like and what kinds of textures could work for you. Okay, so this whole exercise is a lot about kind of experimenting and seeing what you can do with the paint. Okay. If you completely clean your brush and dry it, you can do a dry brush technique, so that will give you a little bit of a rougher texture as well. It won't be as smooth. So try different stuff. Okay. In the end, you're gonna do 5 different textures or patterns to test out. Okay. Questions? Okay. All right. So you are going to you're gonna make 10 new colors. Okay? If you want brown, those are your options. Okay? Then you're going to do 3 gradients. Okay? So 1 color going dark to light. Then you're gonna do 3 ombre, where you're blending 1 color into another, and then 5 textures, patterns. Okay. I'm gonna leave this up here. I'll make it a little bit nicer so y'all can see it and have a friendly reminder. Okay. What I suggest doing is On your board, everyone's going to get their own board. It's kind of dividing it up into 3 sections, one for colors, one for the gradients and ombre, and one for texture. So that way it kind of is separated out. Okay. Questions? Now we know what we're doing. Is this yes? All right.